Hello, and welcome back to another tutorial on coding with Soham Jain. In today's video, I'm going to be going through how you can create your own speech-to-text in HTML, and this is a really simple way to do that. First, I have an empty HTML file, and I'm just going to type this exclamation mark and click enter just to generate some basic code. The first thing I want to do is change the title of the document to speech-to-text, and then after that, I'll get started in the body of the text. So first, we might as well add a header that just says speech to text. And then after that, we need a button that the user can click on. So once we add that button, we're just going to have an ID that's equal to start, stop, button. And then the button will just have text that says start listening. Okay, so once we've gone ahead and done that, we need a div as well that shows what the computer thinks the user is saying. So I'll give an ID to this div, but we don't actually need anything inside of it. It'll simply translate that speech into text and just display that. After we've done this, the next thing that we need is a script inside of our body. But instead of adding the script first, let's just go back into the header. And then here, let's just add some styling. So I'll add style over here. And the first thing that we need style for is the body. So I'm just going to do font family. And then for the font family, we'll do Arial sans serif. The next thing we're going to do is text align, and we'll make that center. And finally, the margin, we'll set to 50px. After the body, the next thing we want to do is this hashtag start stop button, and we want to change the CSS styling of the button itself. So for that, I'm going to do padding of 10px and 20px, and then I'm going to set the font size to 16px. Finally, the last thing we need CSS for is the results div. And so for that, I'm going to have a margin top of 20px, font size of 18. We also want a border on this, so I'll do 1px solid, and we want it to be a white color. The padding, 10px, width of 100%, but we want to make the max width 600. And after we've added in this margin, the last thing we want to do is min height. Okay, so now we're essentially done with the styling. And the next thing we want to do is this script, which is where the majority of the code will go. So I want to create a constant first that's called start stop button. And we're going to do document.get element by ID. And the ID of that will be start stop button. So once we've gotten this stored in a constant, we also need another constant for the result div. And so we'll just do document.getElement by ID again. And the ID for this one is just result. And now we can go ahead and start creating some of the more important constants. So the first one is the speech recognition. And the way that we're going to create the speech recognition constant is by doing window.speechRecognition. And then we also need this OR that says window.webkit speech recognition. And this way it'll be compatible with all devices, and we don't need any external libraries. The next thing we want to do is just create this const recognition. And we're going to make that a new speech recognition. All right, so after we've created this variables, we want to do recognition dot interim results equals true. And then after that, we want to do recognition dot continuance equals true. All right, so what we're doing with these last two lines is we're ensuring that after the button is clicked, it's continuously converting speech to text. Finally, we need another variable that's let listening equals false, and we'll set this to true whenever the button is clicked on. So we'll do recognition dot on results equals, and then we need an event here. And inside of this event, we'll create a variable called transcript. And then after that, we can create a for loop. So for let I equals event dot result index, and then we want I is to be less than event dot results dot length and increase I. And then inside of this for loop, we want transcripts to plus equal event dot results. And since results is an array, we want I0 dot transcript. All right, so we're essentially just appending the text from speech recognition. And then here we'll do result div dot inner HTML equals that transcript. Okay, so now outside of this recognition dot on result, we want a recognition dot on error for the event. And inside of this on error, we can just simply just console.log the error if there is any. So we'll just say speech recognition error, and then we can log the event as well. All right, so now that we've done a bit of error handling, the next thing we want to do is recognition.onEnd. So if I go ahead and do recognition.onEnd here, we'll have another method defined over here. And inside of this, we want listening to be false. So we want to stop the listening. And then also the start stop button, we want to change the text content to start listening. So that way the content of the button itself is also changing. Okay, next thing we want to do is create an event listener when the button is clicked on. So we can do start stop button dot add event listener. And then here we'll have the click defined. And then we'll have essentially a method over here. So the first thing we want to do is check if we're listening using the Boolean that we created above. And then if that's true, we want to do recognition dot stop. And then listening equals false. And finally, start stop button dot text content equals, again, start listening. Okay, now the last thing we want to handle is if we're not listening, if this variable is false, then that's when we want to start this recognition. And then we'll set listening to be true. And start stop button dot text content also needs to change. And we'll make that stop listening. Okay, this is essentially everything we need to do speech to text in HTML. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and right click here and click open in default browser to open up the application. If you guys are wondering how you can do this, all you need to do is go ahead over here into this extensions and type open in browser. And once you've done that, you can click on this first one and install. Since I already have this installed, I'm able to simply right click here and click open in default browser. And now we see our application. So this is the header that we coded before, as well as the start stop button. Right now it displays text that says start listening. Once I go ahead and click on it, it'll say stop listening, and it'll show the text over here in this result div. So let's go ahead and test it out. Once I click the button, it'll say use your microphones, and I'll click allow. And this is a test of speech to text. Once I click the stop listening, it'll show the text and continue to display it. And if I want to click start listening again, this is another test of speech to text. After clicking stop listening, it erased my previous text, but it still displays the new text. If you enjoyed this tutorial or if it helped you out in any way, please do consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel. Also, if you have any questions or if you want me to go over anything in this video in more detail, please leave a comment down below. I'm going to link all of this code in a GitHub also in the description of this video. That's it for me, and this was Coding with Soham Jain.